Hello everyone, this is Sixt Wetzler from the Deutsches Klingenmuseum. I thought I'd just make a short video clip for you to show you our exhibition, Das Schwert, Gestalt und Gedanke, the sword, form and thought. Because today was the last day, it was open for the public. And I know many of you guys didn't have the time or couldn't take the long travel to come here and see it. So I thought it might be nice before we take it down to just give you a short overview over the exhibition. This is like our logo sword, many of you may know it. We called it the boy's sword because it's a little bit smaller, or a lot smaller actually, than what people might think what it should be. Just from it looks like a typical long sword, but it is actually more the size of the sword a boy would have. This is the Asian collection, or a part of it. This is not our exhibition, but here we are. The first part of the exhibition showed 4 aspects of the sword. The exhibition was mainly about the high and late medieval and, well, early Renaissance swords, but here we have swords also from other times, like this Greek sword, well, a typical high medieval knight's sword. This one was found in the River Rhine in the summer 2003, the hottest summer, according to dendrochronologists, since the birth of Christ, actually. And parts of the River Rhine were dried out then. So some guy going with his dog for a walk found it. Here we have, of course, a later piece, a beautiful Colichmar blade. Whoops. And a henchman's sword made in Solingen. We wanted to present this sword at the very beginning to remind people of the fact that these were not just pieces of art or of craft, but were actually really used to hurt or even kill people. Another typical knight's sword. Here we have, you will notice, on top the oakshot typology, and below also the typology for single-edged weapons that Elmsley devised, and we were using it here for the catalogue and for the exhibition. There's also some amendments from Leipzig, as you may know, to these pommel types. Here we have something we are very happy about and proud of. This is something we recently bought some months ago at an auction in London at Bonhams. This is a sword, some of you may know it, it's also published in oakshot in the Records of the Medieval Sword. And it's beautiful because it's several of the many fullers that it has. So this part that we're here is about the knight and the knightly sword. We had this beautiful image from a 13th century English theological manuscript. It's depicting the knight, or the good Christian, as a knight, and he uses his faith as his armor. And the sword, this is interesting, the sword is the word of God, the verbum Dei. The Christian knight we can also see here. This is St. George swinging his sword, fighting the dragon. Actually, according to the Legenda Aurea, well, he poked the dragon first with his lance, but he beheaded it with his sword. And here we have the original, the sword of St. George. It's an extremely beautiful piece. Many of you will know it from pictures. There you have the beautiful pommel in bigger size. Show it like this. It's an outstanding piece of art, as you can see. It was once a fighting blade, probably much simpler, and we can see that it has been resharpened a couple of times and that it saw actually use. And at some point it was taken into the status of a reliquary. The grip, as you may see, is broken. It is not fitted the wrong way around, as some people think. It is fitted the right way, but anyways, it was destroyed probably in the 19th century or so. We don't really know when this happened. In contrast to the Christian knight, we have the peasant fighting with his lange Messer. You can see here, these guys, they're having the wine harvest. You can see they are standing in the vineyard and kissing each other. And some of them are already drunk, and some of them start the fight. And they start their fight with their lange Messer. So we have some lange Messer here, and on the right, Swiss Basilar type. We have a huge wall that shows images of medieval men. This is from an altar piece by Hans Memling, a famous German painter of the late Middle Ages, and we contrasted it with scenes from medieval literature that are about the sword, and also from the Bible. Put your sword into its sheath, for all who will take up the sword will die by the sword, as it's well known. Single-edged sword, single-handed swords. Look at the second one from the left. This is an outstanding example what can happen to a sword in its lifetime. If you take an X-ray from it, you will clearly see that the 20 centimeters on the top had been welded on to this sword. This happened somewhere in the second half of the 20th century. So somebody thought, well, the sword is too short, we should make it a little bit longer. Strange things happen. We have some anderthalbhänder, 1.5 hand swords, used for the fighting im halben Schwert against plated or well-armored opponents. We have these beautiful bastard swords. These are some scenes again from medieval literature, contrasted with some illuminations, all of them about fighting the monsters with a sword, the monsters and the devils. And here we have some, swords that don't really fit, we called it. The one to the left, probably a traveler sword. You see them depicted in illuminations sometimes. Show swords with these short cross guards, probably for everyday carry, to have a more convenient sword. The one in the middle, like an in-between piece on the verge to the rapier. And the one to the right, something, nobody really knows what to make of. It's a single-edged blade, but very fancy one, nonetheless. It comes from Italy, that's what we can say. Here, a really huge Schlachtschwert, a really huge two-handed battle sword. This one, obviously, for ceremonial purposes. Look at how it's embellished with all the gold. And on the other side, another really huge sword that had been bought, had been presented as a gift from the Stiftung Wüsthof, the private friends of the museum. This one belonged to the city guard of Munich for a time, and, obviously had seen some active duty. The one on the left, the favorite sword of many Hema fencers, longsword fencers that come here, a very swift and nimble fencing blade. The leather on the hilt is still the original. And like many swords, these were given as private loans from Jasper Schmidt, a collector from the Netherlands. We are very thankful for him. These two belong to the Deutsches Klingenmuseum. The one on the left is my favorite, if I may say so. And many of you will know here the one on the left. It is, our Solingen sword. Albion Swords made a famous replica of it. And it is said that this sword, and probably also the one to the right, that they fit very well to the fighting with sword and buckler. So this is why we have a buckler here, the famous buckler from Ingolstadt. I hope you can see it. Some people like to call it the Nazgul buckler, for looks. Fencing is what we wanted to show in this part of the exhibition. This is, well, one of our, I have to go back to get it into perspective. This is one of our treasures here, Thibaut, an original Thibaut from 1630. I will turn the camera so that you can see better. From 1630, not 1627, as the book itself said. It was published 3 years later. One of the richest, most luxuriously illustrated fencing manuals of all time. And we have several other fencing manuals. An Egenolf, an Marozzo, a Saint-Didier, a Camillo Agrippa, turn again, a Capofero, Giganti, Alfieri, and Senese as the last one. Here we wanted to demonstrate this lady geometry on the very first page of the book. Once again, it is made clear how much fencing and geometry belong together. And as you all know, the famous mysterious circle from Thibaut, we put this circle here on the ground so that people can actually try and do the footwork that Thibaut recommends. Here we have a really huge two-handed sword, similar like described in some or depicted in some fencing manuals. And this one is a single-edged blade. Actually, it's somewhere in between a sword and a very long langes Messer. More lange Messer here, different types. The one on the left, extremely well preserved. Also the hilt scales, a very beautiful and swift blade. Same is true for the one in the middle. It's also a very quick and nimble blade, and especially the one on the right. This weighs only like 900 grams or something. It's a very swift blade. Go to the next part. There you can see already the crates are ready to bring the swords back home. This is an especially precious piece, the ceremonial sword of the Archbishop of Cologne, made between 1450 and 1460, we think, and extremely richly embellished with gold and precious stones. And here on the hilt, at some point you can see there you have him, this little angel, an extremely delicate work of art. We are very thankful for the Domschatzkammer in Köln, from the bishoprics, that they lend it to us. Here, beautiful sword. Some of you may know it has been discussed a couple of times, especially for its inscription. That is, of course, hard to see here on the video. We have it here on the side. Hard to read. It must have been a really beautiful blade when it was in mint conditions. And a later saber blade, the same here, this beautiful European saber. It's from Italy. And a lavishly decorated side sword. This is cut iron, the hilt. We go through here. Here we have two other precious pieces. They belong to the Deutsches Klingenmuseum. This is an Ulfbert sword, or the blade of an Ulfbert sword at least. And this is our Ingelri, another very fine blade. I like it very much. Viking Sword, single-edge type, the typical, often said Norwegian type. This was bought with financial support from the friends of the museum again. Without them, we couldn't afford any new acquisitions. And finally, our Xiphos project, where modern makers interpreted the idea of the Xiphos, the penetrating light. This one is from Jake Powning, made from bronze. This one is from Ralf Hoffmann and Sabine Pieper. It's like a fairy blade. You can see fairy here. And a beautiful Damascene blade. This one is from Peter Florianek. There you have him on the wall. Battle light, as he called it. A sword, as Peter said, especially suited to fight monsters that threaten the society of man. Again, a beautiful Damascene blade. And finally, one by Peter Jonsson, one of the curators and part of the organization team of this exhibition. An outstanding sword. And as the very last part, you can see the broom and everything. Yeah? As I said, we are already tearing down the exhibition one day after its end. God, the creator, who created Earth and the universe according to the rules of geometry. And there once was the cave of geometry. Here we have the famous motto from Plato's Academy, don't let anyone in who does not know about geometry. But this one, this part of the exhibition, the last one, has already been taken down. But you can read that up in our exhibition catalogue, which you can order via the homepage of our museum. And there were no swords anymore in there, so don't bother. So guys, I hope that gave you at least an impression of what the exhibition looked like while it was still standing. Hope to see you for the next exhibition. Bye bye.